So the DHS Secretary Mayorkas grilled by senators and kind of revealed that he didn't actually know that much about his newly hired disinformation czar. Despite calling her, he was quite clear that she was eminently qualified. Take a look.
She has, for starters, consistently misinformed the public about the Hunter Biden laptop story and spread the lie that it was Russian propaganda. She has used social media and the public to launder propaganda herself. Were you aware of this information when you chose her, everything I've just shown you?
I was not.
How could you not be? Did you do any research on her?
Was the department aware of her TikTok videos?
Senator,
They're really quite precocious.
Senator, I was not.
You got the little Mary Poppins reference there, right? They're really quite precocious. He's so funny, Senator Kennedy. All right, so 20 GOP-led states are threatening to sue over the disinformation board, and Republicans making an issue over the lack of vetting for the new disinfo chief. Nina Jankowicz's newly uncovered video shows her dismissing concerns about critical race theory in schools. Watch this.
Critical race theory has become one of those hot button issues that the Republicans and other, disinformers who are engaged in disinformation for profit, frankly, there are plenty of, media outlets that are making money off of this too, have seized on. It's no different than any of the other hot button issues that, allow disinformation to flourish. It's weaponizing people's emotion.
Yeah, so you get it. Yeah. Pete, let me start with you on this. So she what I loved is when she said, if you find yourself getting emotional, there's a good chance that someone is just manipulating you. So just like cool yourself down and say, I'm just being manipulated. I'm not going to let it happen to me because I know what they're up to.
You're right. And the other statement, and the other part of that statement was the Republicans and other disinformers, as if there are other we know the Republicans are disinformers and the other ones that disinform too. And all those parents that are protesting at those school boards because they really are all in it for the profit.
Yes.
It is a dripping irony of our moment that the person in charge of the governance board on disinformation is herself a disinformant, intentionally on one side of the aisle. Mayorkas may not have known exactly what she said, but no doubt about it, the people that hired her knew exactly who she was and knew exactly what her political inclinations and instincts are, and that she's a D.C. 30-something D.C. creature that went to Georgetown and thinks that same way that bubble thinks, which is one side of the aisle are disinformants, the rest of us are the elites who inform those MAGA crowders about what's acceptable. And they wanted it that way. Thankfully, she tweets and TikToks, and we know about it. Maybe, just maybe, she won't get this position. But this is indicative. The Department of Homeland Security is supposed to keep us safe after 9/11. That's why it was created. And instead, it's facilitating open borders on the southern border and creating a governance board to censor speech of citizens. Think it's lost its way just a tad?
Jessica, do you think this is an unfair criticism of her?
No. If there wasn't evidence for it, like a TikTok I could watch or a tweet I could read, and everything is recorded now. And people have to be conscious of that. And when you're part of a digital generation, that's something that you often find out too late. But this is something that she's been doing as a professional and stands by her beliefs, and that's perfectly fine. It just may mean that you're not suited for this particular position. It doesn't mean that there isn't room for you in the world and to have another great job. But this feels like a question of when Mayorkas is just going to say, this is not worth it to me anymore. And this is what happens when everyone puts forward nominees with every president, right? Like, they want this person, and this person's going to end up a little bit too extreme. But maybe if we sacrifice this one for this one, we're going to get this thing that we want. And maybe that's what's going on here. I believe him that he had not seen the Mary Poppins video. Someone on his team, I'm sure, had and didn't think it was going to be a problem. And maybe that's an indication of something that's wrong with our times as well, because people do not think ahead as to what the response is going to be from the other side to people. And this happens constantly, running absurd candidates who have crazy past, and you think, oh, they won't find out about that drug-fueled orgy thing or whatever they were doing.
It's a long time ago.
I wasn't talking about you particularly this time.
I know what you mean.
It's because they're not that many. Yeah, a lot of people have this kind of background, Janine, and there's not that many sort of stand-up folks who are dying for these kind of jobs, I don't think, these days in government, or even perhaps running for government. But what do you think about Mayorkas' performance there and this whole thing?
You know, every time Mayorkas speaks, I say to myself, there's a perfect example
of a man who lies every time he opens his mouth, like the borders are secure. And if 18,000 people come through a day, if we lift Title 42, it'll be fine. We got it covered. You know, the man has never said a truth as far as I'm concerned. I don't believe him. And with all due respect, I must tell you, if anyone in any place in the United States should recognize that there's got to be a vetting of an individual, it's got to be in Washington, D.C., when you're talking about a White House or, an administration appointee. This isn't like in high school they're hiring a guy who, 5 years ago, got drunk or something. We're talking about a person who is going to be in charge of a disinformation board or whatever they want to call it. And all of a sudden, this guy, Mayorkas, comes out, lies again, says she's eminently qualified. She's not eminently qualified. She's just the opposite. She has proven that she is not qualified. And, this is what I hate about politics anymore. I hate the fact people don't believe in right and wrong and truth and justice anymore. It's about power and winning and lying on your way to getting it. It infuriates me.
Which makes me think of you, Greg.
Oh, well, thank you for that. DHS should stand for Dumb Hire Secretary. He claims that he could not disclose how they hired her, as if their hiring process is sacred. Doesn't the government require businesses to kind of make their hiring practices transparent?
Fair hiring laws.
You have fair hiring laws, but they're exempt. And if this guy doesn't know who's running the board, and he doesn't even know who's running the border. See what I did there? Pretty good. Nina is it's normally, I would say, a harmless person. She's like a walking Twitter trend, right? She's a poster child for all the lazy rumors that end up trending on Twitter. Like Taylor Lorenz is a victim. She tweets about that. CRT is a right-wing fear tactic. Laptop is Russian disinformation. These are all what gets the biggest clicks and retweets in her bubble, right? So the big problem here is not that she's silly. The singing video is silly, but it doesn't make her a bad person. Nothing makes her a bad person. The problem is she's just not unbiased. If you look at everything she talks about and believes in, she is swayed by what gets attention in her world. And that makes her incredibly unqualified. They should have, if they actually keep this actual board, they have to really try to bend over backwards to find somebody with a centrist perspective, somebody that they might not like, somebody that pisses you off 50% of the time and doesn't tick you off the other 50%. We know there are people out there like that. There's a lot of them. I mean, you think I would always use somebody like Bill Maher as an example, because half the time I want to, throw something at the TV. And then the other time I'm going, wow, that's really brave, or that's really amazing. That's not this. You're going to know exactly what side she's going to come down on just by reading her tweets. To your point, social media has made it very transparent.
You're just saying that because Bill Maher was nice about you.
I don't think he knows who I am, but maybe.
Definitely.
You're talking about like an ombudsman, right?
Yeah.
Like a newspaper that has someone who's neutral, who argues with the editorial page and with the newspaper. That's what you need. And I do love that you pointed out that he said he wouldn't discuss the inner workings of the hiring process.
You love that?
First of all, it's the United States government. You're using all of our money. We hired this person.
We're paying for
so
it.
You can't tell me how you hire the person, because you're hiring them with our money. So
because he lied.
Anyway, ahead, the president and his VP at odds again, according to some new reporting. This time over an issue that they really want to make a lot out of right now. So when we come back.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.